I'm the Talking Skull, and this year I'm playing classic first-person shooters to draw a line from Wolfenstein 3D to Halo. This week, disgruntled Rare employees split off to start their own studio. I got nothing out of Timesplitters. This is the trouble with committing to covering a game before you've actually played it, because it's only after you've played the game that you can know that you've wasted your time, that the game had nothing new to offer. No horrifying warts to dissect, but also no ambition. Timesplitters is billed as an alternative to Perfect Dark, another follow-up to Goldeneye made by a handful of developers who left Rare without drama during Perfect Dark's development. And I see the connection. We've got dual analog play now, but they've somehow made the aim-down sights even worse. What's with this gigantic dead zone? Aiming down sights should be more accurate than hip firing, but not only does it disable auto-aim, it doesn't respond at all until you're cranking the stick halfway across the screen. I thought Rare's aiming was bad, but this is genuinely unusable. Now let's try hip firing with the pistol. Timesplitters is clearly a multiplayer game first and foremost. It has a campaign, but only in the fighting game arcade mode sense, and it's put together with all the care and quality of a fighting game arcade mode. Each stage starts your arsenal from scratch and ends within 5 minutes, so the bloated weapon selection rains down faster than you can use them, with 4 or 5 different guns dropping as early as the spawn room. These 9 fully automatic hoses could easily have been pared down to 3 or 4 with no value lost, and half the other weapons land with the impact of a sudden breeze. So the moment-to-moment gameplay barely holds itself together. But where Perfect Dark nailed its style, presentation, and novelty, Timesplitters doesn't even try. There's no shred of continuity between missions, or any attempt at context. And by level 4, the absurdly repetitive structure had already revealed how little attention this bafflingly named story mode really got. The campaign suffers most from lack of enemy variety. Whether it's an alien, a cyborg, or a mutant, everything is either a dude with a gun or a melee dude. And the melee dudes are so slow they're no threat. That is, of course, unless they spawn on top of you. That trick's not restricted to the less deadly mobs either. It's Timesplitters' bread and butter. This is the kind of encounter design you get when a developer runs out of ideas for how to assemble the same boring pieces into actually engaging fights. And don't tell me it's a restriction of the technology. This is a PlayStation 2 game, and Doom pulled this off in 1993. Oh, but there is one other enemy type in Timesplitters: zombies. Zombies perpetually clog up halls and doorways with their not dead enough bodies, unless you shoot them in the head, which auto-aim helpfully prevents you from doing. You're supposed to aim down sights, but yeah, good luck with that. You're better off hip aiming than quickscoping to confirm your shot. I eventually realized the intended use of the aim down sights is to only ever aim at the center of the screen, and that the huge dead zone exists to relegate the stick to panning the screen like an RTS rather than making fine adjustments. This is probably a hair better than Perfect Dark's aiming, but why so convoluted? Just let me move the camera directly like I can any other time. It's not that hard. With gun dudes, melee dudes, and zombies, Free Radical weren't exactly wowing with the campaign's mobs. But remember, Timesplitter is a multiplayer game at heart, so it only needs one enemy type. All that matters is that those enemies have great AI. I cranked the difficulty as high as it would go, and these bots still couldn't perform basic task prioritization or evasive movement. I'm not some savant at these games. If I, on my first day playing, can consistently beat the hardest AI on maps I've never even seen before, I can't imagine fans got any longevity or value out of bot matches. You can't even point to the newness of the dual analog controller, because the campaign ramps the difficulty much higher. Besides, the AI's lack of challenge comes as much from poor decision trees and pathing as it does from uncoordinated aim and movement. So, with half-assed campaign and bots, where did all the development time go? Well, Timesplitters stuffs its maps with game modes, but aside from the obvious choices like Capture the Flag and Deathmatch, most of these modes suck. Here's a sniping practice mode, or the other version, the one room full of zombies mode. Or you could play the dedicated shitty escort mission mode. Who wanted this? It's available on 7 maps! Even the standard game modes suffer from unfocused level layouts, partially due to forcing every stage to support almost every game mode, but also due to boring combat arenas and awkward connecting paths. A slew of challenges at least keep you busy, but don't fundamentally change the gameplay. Timesplitters does have one killer feature though: the map editor. Your tools here are pretty limited. You can't create new geometry or room layouts, stairs and ramps are pre-placed and unmovable, and your selection of room tiles is pretty small. But even with these rudimentary tools, Timesplitters was ahead of its time. This kind of easy-to-use map builder would become popular over a decade later, with bundled map sharing and browsing features. In the mod-heavy scene of the 90s and early 2000s, it's easy to imagine industrious would-be designers swapping memory cards to try each other's magnum opus. Unfortunately, I doubt that really happened. Timesplitters lacks a strong enough core to support a killer feature that boils down to play the same game in a different configuration. It's not necessarily bad, just mediocre. It's perfect dark, without the zany story, surprisingly solid cinematography, gadgets, bot customization, or counter-operative mode. The kind of game a kid could have played for hours and hours and walked away happy, but that immediately fades from the industry's memory, without a backward glance. At least it has co-op. If this old stuff is interesting to you, check out the rest of my series on classic first-person shooters to see what I had to say about Perfect Dark and more. Next week, Monolith pump out yet another solid single-player campaign.